Just a few weeks ago, I traveled all the way to Amsterdam in the Netherlands to hang out with a group of seven-figure plus print-on-demand sellers. Through my conversations and the presentations, I learned a ton. In this episode, I want to share with you my insights, strategies, and tips that I learned so you can implement them in your business. My name is Kerry Egler, and welcome to the Print on Demand Playbook Podcast. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. So excited to be with you today. Thank you so much for listening. This is going to be a fun episode, solo episode here, talking about my trip over to Amsterdam in the Netherlands. It was about a 4-day trip, but I spent 2 days with an amazing group of e-commerce sellers. We're going to get into that a little bit later. But before we get into kind of the content of this episode, just a couple things I want to tell you about. First of all, if you are somebody who is starting up a brand new online apparel or print-on-demand business, I want to invite you to my 5-day Launch Your Brand Challenge, which is coming up this coming Monday. So if you're listening to this on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're about to start on Monday, September 23rd. And what the challenge is it's 5 days where I go live every day and I teach you in sequential order all the things you need to learn to launch an online apparel business. So we cover things like choosing a niche, coming up with designs, how to use design software, building a Shopify store, even marketing strategies, connected with the print on demand. We walk you through all that and challenge you each day to take action. And so it's a really cool challenge. We've reached over 60,000 people in the last 4 years with this challenge. And if you want to register, it's $5. Super inexpensive, like the price of a cup of coffee or less to participate. But you can go over to kerryegler.com/LYB to get registered for the challenge. I'll spell it out for you, but we'll also put it out in the show notes. It's KerryEgler.com/LYB. So go over there. It's $5 to get in, and we're starting on Monday. Super excited about that. Always a super fun time to do those challenges, and definitely want you to be involved. I also want to share a quick podcast review here before getting started. This one is really funny. We always appreciate your reviews, and they're so much fun to read and share here on the podcast. I also want to just invite you to go leave a review. We would love to hear from you. We'd love to know what you think about the podcast, and it really helps us. First of all, we get feedback. Second of all, we get to connect with you. And third of all, it helps us grow the podcast by just showing that we're a good podcast. So if you're enjoying it, go leave us a review on whichever platform you're on. This review is really funny, though. It's from Pip1001678. Hopefully that's not like your phone number or something, Pip. But this is from Pip. I don't know which platform Pip is listening on, but I really like the title. The title of Pip's review says, "How does this podcast only have 5 reviews?" What Pip said. I'm imagining Pip is probably listening on maybe a smaller podcast platform like Google or something, or some kind of platform that we send the content out to. Pip, if you're listening, we have right now, I think, about 150 or so podcast reviews. I think most of those are probably on Apple or Spotify. So anyways, I thought that was funny. How does this podcast only have 5 reviews? But Pip said, love this podcast to fuel my fire with POD. They're genuine, authentic, no fuss, speak from experience. Love that there's no ego involved, just positivity and great information. Pip, thank you so much for that review. That is awesome. We love to have you as a listener. I'm so glad that you're enjoying the podcast. And we get this kind of review a lot, right? Authentic, genuine, no fuss. That's what we aim to do here, is really give you stuff that you can really help you in your journey to have a successful online apparel business. So quick breakdown of the episode. First of all, in the first part of this, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my trip, what happened, kind of what the layout was, and traveling over there and those kind of things, just kind of my personal experience in going over to this event. And then in the second part, I'm going to share 7 insights, strategies, or tips. So I've mapped out about 7 different things that I heard or learned there in my conversations or through the presentations. And I think they're going to be really impactful for you in your business. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that part because you're going to get some amazing insights from that section. So jumping into the first part of this, I just want to talk about like what was I even doing in Amsterdam? Why did I go all the way over to Amsterdam? I really spent a whole week. So I left on a Monday. I arrived on Tuesday morning in Amsterdam, and then I ended up leaving Friday morning and getting back late Friday afternoon back in Oklahoma. So it really took up kind of my whole work week, Monday through Friday. But I was really only there for like 2.5 days. So it was like part of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then left on Friday morning. Time change is crazy. If you don't know, if you go over to Europe, it's like 7, 8 hours, depending on where you're at, I guess about 7 hours. For me, it was 7 hours time difference. So 7 hours in the future. So I left at noon Central Time. And by the time I got there, it was like 8 a.m. In the morning, which means if I didn't sleep on the plane, it was morning time now. So I am really bad at sleeping in any kind of vehicle or any kind of travel. So plane, a car, bus, any like I cannot sleep. I don't know if any of you are like that, but I just cannot sleep. And I tried really hard this trip I bought a new pillow. I like got new headphones. I got these really big, like fancy headphones that are really comfortable and just could not sleep. So unfortunately, I was really tired when I got there about 8 a.m. in the morning, ended up sleeping most of the day on Tuesday. But what this was, so Gelato, the print on demand company, I partner with Gelato, love Gelato, use Gelato. They invited myself and a few other experts or influencer type people in this space um, over to Amsterdam, along with I would say about 30 to 35. I might be off on that number, but 30 to 35 7-figure plus print on demand sellers, Gelato staff, and then some other companies. But they invited us all over to Amsterdam for kind of this 2-day kind of like mastermind type event. All of these 7-figure plus POD sellers are Gelato's clients. So they're using Gelato for their print on demand uh, company, a print on demand partner. And they invited us all over this kind of mastermind type event. And they're really just wanting to help their clients grow and scale their business, right? And connect with other entrepreneurs in the space. It was really awesome. And this event, I actually was also in Norway back in February for the first time that I went over to the last Gelato Summit, Accelerate Summit, and that one was awesome. This one I really really enjoyed even more. I really really loved it. Like it was just a great time. And they invited me over specifically to speak at this summit. So I got to speak on the second day. I talked about AI. I talked about kind of creative AI. I got to highlight some of our students on the second day. And so that's kind of why I was there. But I also got all these additional benefits of meeting and connecting with all these people and these entrepreneurs, which was awesome. The first night on Tuesday, I slept most of the day on Tuesday, unfortunately. But that first night, we had a networking event. Everybody just went down to the restaurant, really cool hotel, super modern hotel. We went down to the restaurant. We all kind of met, talked, had some drinks, different things like that. I don't really drink myself, so I went down and had a Coke Zero and met some amazing people. But one thing I just wanted to mention is it just I don't know if anybody else is out here like this, but I am like not the greatest at being a social person. Like I can be a little bit awkward. I struggle a little bit to really keep the conversation going. My wife is great at it, but I kind of dread those social situations, those gatherings where you don't know anybody. You're trying to kind of meet people and those kind of things, conferences. I mean, I really struggle with those. I would much rather just be in my hotel room alone. That's just kind of how I am. I love being at home. Like my wife and I both kind of homebodies. So it takes a lot out of me to really be social for these kind of events. And so I kind of have to force myself. And I thought I did a really good job that first night, meeting a lot of people, met some really great e-commerce sellers and also business owners of like software companies and different things. It was really, really, it was just an awesome time. Had a great time at that networking event. Then the next morning, we moved into day one of the event. There's a lot of more connection through lunch and through the breaks and different things. But we had these presentations going all day, both from Gelato staff, but also from other experts that they've invited in, people in marketing, people in design, different things like that. And so some great presentations. Day two is when I got to spoke for about 30, 35 minutes. as I mentioned, focused around how to use AI in your e-commerce business. The coolest part about it was I got to highlight some of my students. And I want to throw a huge thank you out there to Elizabeth, Darla, Tommy. I appreciate you letting me highlight your brands in this presentation. And hopefully I'll be posting some of that somewhere. But man, it was really cool. A really great presentation. I thought it was a lot better than the one that I did back in February. I really enjoyed it. I think it was helpful. But just spoke about the different ways you can use AI in your print-on-demand business to increase sales, save time, and got to do that through the stories of some of my students, which is just awesome. So appreciate those students. After day two, which was Thursday, the rest of the day I kind of explored Amsterdam, walked around for hours, did a little shopping, got some gifts for my family to bring back to the States. And the next morning I headed home, all day travel, probably 20 plus hours of travel, but did make it home to my amazing family. It's so hard being away from the family for me. Like my family is so close. We're so tight knit. My kids and my wife, like we're best friends. And it's so hard. My kids cry every time I go on a trip, and I travel sometimes I go 4 or 5 months, and it feels like I am traveling every single month, at least once or twice for gone for a week, and then sometimes it's a little bit less. Maybe it's like once per quarter. But I travel quite a bit, and a lot of times I travel by myself. And my son cries every time I leave. He's 8, and he cries every time I leave just because like we are so tight. We're just best friends. So it's always emotional leaving, but then very emotional getting back. Even though I was only gone for 5 days, like so good just getting back home and to my family. So, anyways, back stateside and happy to be home. It was a great trip. So, with that, I want to share with you some of the insights, strategies, and tips from that trip. And I've got 7 of these that I want to share with you, some probably shorter than others. Do my best to really articulate what I want to kind of share with this. The first thing that I want to share with you is it's kind of actually a bunch of small things, but these are all from Heinrich, who is the CEO and founder of Gelato. So the first day, day one, the first presentation was from the CEO and founder of Gelato. His name is Heinrich, and I've seen Heinrich maybe a few different clips on social media or on their website or in different things that I've done with Gelato, but never really heard him speak in this kind of setting. And he actually was speaking remotely. So he was back in Oslo, I believe, speaking over Zoom to this group. They were broadcasting this in, and he could hear what we were saying. So he was asking questions and interacting, but it was really cool. He was actually coming in remotely. But I want to tell you a little bit about this. Is not to promote Gelato at all, but Heinrich, I was very impressed with him. He's the CEO and founder of Gelato, and I learned a lot from it. And so I do want to educate you a little bit about Heinrich and Gelato, just very briefly, so that you kind of know where this is coming from. But if you're not aware, Gelato actually, this is really odd, and most people don't know this, but Gelato actually they own a very successful e-commerce business, and it's on their website, so I'm going to share it. It's called Optimal Print. So Optimal Print is a print-on-demand business, essentially, and they are a client of Gelato Print on Demand. It's really interesting. So they do. I don't know how much their revenue is, but it's multiple millions of dollars. Very successful e-commerce business, and it's owned by Gelato, but it's also a client of Gelato. So everything that this e-commerce customer-facing business is selling is supplied and printed through the Gelato network. This is really interesting because this allows Gelato to firsthand experience what their clients are experiencing, because they're literally a client of themselves. What I mean by that is, like, if they send out bad quality stuff from their production partners, like, they feel it, right? If they have shipping delays, they feel it because they have this e-commerce business, very successful e-commerce business, that is essentially going through all the pains that their clients may be going through. So it's very interesting. It allows them to have firsthand experience of what their clients are experiencing to be able to make changes and these kind of things. And so Heinrich founded Optimal Print, the e-commerce business, in 2007. And so he's been directly in e-commerce since 2007, very knowledgeable, has a very extensive background in this, and really knows what he's talking about. And so in 2012, basically through what they were doing with Optimal Print, they ended up opening the print on demand side called Gelato because they saw that opportunity there based off what they were doing, and so ended up opening Gelato 2012, and it's been growing ever since. Gelato is a more than $1 billion company, which is really cool. Very large company. They got offices in multiple countries. Obviously, I believe it's they've got tons of production partners throughout the world. Crazy. Anyways, Heinrich was mainly talking about in his presentation, talking about scaling your business and some different things that are important to that. And he really laid out a blueprint for scaling your business and what's most important to pay attention to and spend your time on when it comes to scaling your business. Throughout his presentation, he was asking for questions and feedback from the crowd, from the group. And he was stopping pretty frequently to ask, okay, does anybody have any questions? Does anybody want to have any feedback on this? And so there was a very interesting exchange when he was speaking at one point. He was talking about the need for more products in your e-commerce business, in your print on demand business, really e-commerce, but in your print on demand business. He was talking about the need to expand your products. And he asked for feedback, and a gentleman that owns a very successful print on demand business spoke up and I'm not going to mention who this person was. It wasn't negative. It wasn't a negative exchange, but it was very he was very passionate that we should be learning about basically marketing strategies and ad strategies and not worrying about adding more products. It was an interesting exchange because this person was like, basically telling Heinrich, like, I appreciate what you're saying, but I think we should be learning these other things. And I don't think we need more products. We've already got the product. And that's one of the things he said. He said, this person in the crowd said, we've already got the product. Like, we're here at this Gelato Accelerate Summit because we have a successful product. We want to know, how do we do marketing better to scale out these products? And not that gentleman was wrong, but Heinrich was very passionate about the need for more products. And Heinrich came back to this person in his talk and was like, I fundamentally disagree with you. And I think everybody was pretty locked in because there was a little bit of, conflict here, not in a bad way, but a healthy conflict. And he was like, I disagree with you. You need more products in your business, which is why Gelato is so focused on really scaling out or expanding their product selection, is because he believes fundamentally that their clients that are us as e-commerce sellers, print on demand sellers, we need more products. Well, what was he talking about? He was talking about the need to expand the wallet share of your customer and how important that is in scaling out your business. Expanding the wallet share of your customer, meaning how much can you get your customer to spend? And the interesting thing here, and I've talked about this a lot, but one of the things that he really shared is it's so much easier to get an existing customer to spend more with you, to expand the wallet share, than it is to get a new customer. Okay. And this gentleman in the crowd was really thinking, how do I get more customers? And Heinrich was telling him, one of the things, a bigger thing you need to focus on is expanding the wallet share of each customer, because everybody in the crowd has a lot of customers, and you don't actually need this huge amount of customers to have a successful business, even a 7-figure e-commerce business. You need to maximize the wallet share of each of those customers. The only way that you do that is by adding more products, or one of the only ways you do that is by adding more products. Sure, you can sell more of the same products, but most of your customers are not going to have a need for 3, 4, 5 of the same product unless it's a very giftable product, right? So you have to have more products. You have to be putting more types of products in front of your existing customers to expand the wallet share of your customer. That was really impactful for me. One of the things that was really impactful for me. It is much easier to expand how much a customer pays you than it is to acquire a new customer. So a couple other things that I just wanted to add from Heinrich's talk, because he's really talking about scaling out your business. He said two things: lower CAC and maximize LTV. Okay. CAC is cost to acquire a customer. You need to focus on how you can lower CAC, cost to acquire new customers, and you can maximize LTV, which is lifetime value of a customer. How much is a customer going to spend in your store over the lifetime of them being a customer? Okay, lower CAC, maximize LTV. If you literally just focus on those two things in your business, goodness gracious, you could scale so incredibly big, right? How can I lower the cost to get a customer and maximize how much a customer is spending, right? Adding new products, your follow-up marketing, meaning retargeting, email marketing, SMS, those different things, lowering CAC, maximizing LTV. And the last thing I want to share from Heinrich was something that this was kind of a theme a little bit throughout the Accelerate Summit, was utilizing software to scale. And really what I just want to mention here is we're living in a time where technology is insane. Obviously, we have these things like AI, as well as just so many different types of software and tools that we can use to our advantage to save time, save money, make more money, be more efficient, get more done. Okay. And one of your biggest tools in your toolbox to scale is using different kinds of software to scale your business. And there's different ways to do that, right? Like scaling your business sometimes means I need to create more time for myself so I can focus on the things that scale the business. In order to do that, you can use software to free up your time, right? I'm not going to get into specifics about different software here, and that really wasn't the message that Heinrich was telling us. But that's kind of the mission of Gelato. Is Gelato wants to they're a software company. We call them a print on demand company, but they're really a tech company. They're a software company, and their aim is to create the best software that's going to save you the most time, make you the most money, offer you the most products, right, in a quick and simple way. They want to create the best software, best functioning software that helps you accomplish these things we're talking about: expanding the wallet share of your customer, lowering cost to acquire, those kind of things, right? Making creating products easy and quick, because that can be a time-consuming thing, creating a product, right? So I want you to really be thinking about, through this tip, how can you utilize software more, right? Can you utilize ChatGPT or Claude or these different AI tools, or something I talked about, Midjourney or Ideogram, different AI tools to save you time, to get more done, to produce higher quality designs or marketing materials and different things? How can you automate some of the things on social media? How can you automate fulfillment? Thinking about these things to save yourself time, to increase efficiency, to increase how much you're getting done. I'll leave it there. But using software to scale, utilizing software to scale, huge thing. Let's move on to my second. That was a bunch of insights, but let's move on to my second insight from the summit. And this one is related to the sellers there and my conversation. So I talked to, pretty much everybody there, right? Learned about a lot of their businesses. I have a notepad with all of their websites on there because I want to go look at their stores, and I have looked at many of them, and I'm not at liberty to share them on this episode at least. But this was my second insight from these 7-figure plus sellers. These sellers are all selling on different platforms in different ways, but most of them only utilize one platform to sell. Let me say that one more time. These sellers at this summit were all selling and marketing on different platforms. They were doing it in different ways, different strategies, but most of them were only utilizing one marketing channel or one platform to sell on. What I'm saying is here is that the majority, if not all, of these sellers at this summit, which I found was so interesting, were selling 7 figures plus. That means they're $1 million print on demand sellers. And most of them, if not all of them, were doing it through one marketing platform or one marketing channel, right? They weren't selling everywhere. They weren't on all the places. In fact, most of them were walking around and meeting other people and saying, whoa, you're selling on TikTok? I want to do that too. How can I figure that out? Right. The big key here, and I'm going to tell you the different platforms they were selling on, but the big key here that I just really want you to listen to is you can grow your business to $1 million print on demand business by just selling on one social media platform or one marketing channel. Social media is not the only way to sell. So I want to say one marketing channel. That could be social media, that could be SEO, that could be Etsy, it could be influencer marketing, but one primary way to sell. Okay, the different ones that I are different platforms and different ways that people were selling that I met at the summit. First of all, organic TikTok or organic Instagram, and it was one or the other, right? I met somebody who said, "Well, we've done 7 figures and we're doing 7 figures a year and we're selling just with like free Instagram. Like we're doing it all through free Instagram. We're not running any ads. We're not doing any other platforms. It's just Instagram, and we're just putting out free organic content." Same thing on TikTok. I met a brand that was, "Hey, we're doing it all through organic TikTok. We're just posting these TikTok videos and we have a strategy, but we're doing it all. We're doing 7 figures plus through TikTok." Okay. I met a brand, this one shocked me. I met a brand that was like, "Now we do it all through Google ads. We run Google ads, SEO and Google advertising." They didn't really use Google Shopping as much, but search based type stuff. I was like, "Really? 7 figures plus? You primarily just sell?" They were like, "We're not even on social media hardly. Like we have social media accounts, but we don't even do anything with them. But we're selling, successful on Google." Okay, I met a bunch of different brands. This was the most common, but I met a lot of brands that had a Shopify store and they were selling primarily with Facebook and Instagram advertising. Okay, this is my favorite way to sell. I think we all know that on this podcast. If you're a student of mine, you know that. But this was the most common, right? The most people that I met said we're selling on Facebook and Instagram ads. But the majority, if not all of the people that I met that said we're selling primarily on Facebook and Instagram ads, they weren't doing organic and they weren't doing any other platforms. They weren't also on TikTok. They weren't also on Google, all that kind of stuff. They were just primarily, then they might have been putting out a little piece of content here and there, but that wasn't where they were making the sales, right? They were primarily selling through just getting really good at Facebook and Instagram ads. And the last one I just wanted to mention was Etsy. There's quite a few Etsy sellers there. It's always good to see. We say a lot of different things in this podcast about Etsy. We're not the biggest fans, although we love it as a research tool and love it as a complementary platform to your Shopify store. But there's a lot of Etsy sellers there. I wouldn't say a lot, but there was a decent amount of Etsy sellers there. I'd say the majority were Shopify first, but there was some Etsy sellers there and very successful Etsy sellers. And they were primarily just selling on Etsy. They're using the built-in marketing. They're creating SEO rich Etsy listings that are being discovered in search. And they're not like trying to do all these other things. They're just selling on Etsy, right? And doing very, very well with it. So again, the message I want you to get from this insight, meeting with 30 plus 7-figure e-commerce print on demand sellers, you don't have to sell on every platform. You don't have to be on every social media. You don't have to be everywhere at once. In fact, it is beneficial to you to get to your first 6 figures and 7 figures by utilizing one platform, because you're going to get really good at that platform and you can find success there if you stay focused on that one platform and be consistent on that one platform. Moving on to my third insight I want to share with you. This one will come as no shock to anyone. Personalization is still a mega huge trend and probably will continue to be for a very long time. Personalized print on demand products. So a good portion, I would say not quite as many at this summit as the one that I went to in February in Norway, but still a very good portion of these sellers were doing some kind of personalized print on demand products. A lot of them are in kind of the family niche or marriage, like, maybe they were selling like star maps of the night you got, where you got engaged or where you got married. those kind of things, location maps, or just personalized, apparel products, or, where you can put in a name or a date or those kind of things. But personalization, still a mega trend. You can charge way more money for personalized products, print on demand products, and they sell a lot easier. So, if you already have a brand, you're already selling, incorporate personalization. If you're starting up a new brand, consider making that brand primarily focus on personalized products in some way, shape, or form. And this is a huge trend. Very Gelato makes it very simple because they have personalization built in that you can, create personalized products and send them over to your Shopify store. All the tech works really, really well. So it's a good partner to have for personalization. But a lot of these sellers are selling some kind of personalized products. Okay, moving on to number 4, insight. This one's very interesting. Hopefully, I can explain this in a way that makes sense. I don't know what to take from this yet, but it is an interesting insight. Number 4, some sellers have a specific style of art that essentially becomes their niche. I'm sure that there's a better way to explain this, but what I want to share with you about this is that, and I found very interesting, and I just, I'm kind of studying more, is some of the sellers didn't have a very specific niche, or they were selling in multiple niches on their store. So they had categories of different niches on their store. As I dove into this, as I really kind of explored this, because as you know, myself, Adrian, my program, the programs that we have, like, we teach to have a specific niche. And I believe that's the best way to start and grow your business from scratch, is to have a very specific niche. As I dove into this a little bit more, there were a few key things that I found that I think support what we really teach from these successful sellers. Number one, all of the sellers that did not have and most of the sellers did have a niche, but there was a group of sellers that definitely were like more broad in their store, not a specific niche. All of those sellers that did not have a specific niche had a very unique and attractive style of art. So the art that is on their products, many of them are in wall art, some of them selling other things, apparel and different things, but many of them are in wall art. They had a very unique style of art. So when you go to their stores, they might have different niches on the store that you can click on. Maybe it says sports and it says, different things there, pop culture and different things. But they had a unique style that was very attractive. And I think people see that style and they're like, oh my gosh, I love that style. The style of art, right, was specific to these sellers that had a unique style of art. They were still, and one the other thing I want to mention is they're still selling in different niches, right? When you go to their website, they still have niche products, but they had multiple niches in the store. And the other insight here that also is very important, all of these sellers had a very specific customer they were selling to. So sometimes when you don't have as specific of niche, you usually need to be specific on the customer. Okay, so knowing the customer's age, their race or ethnicity, their location where they live, what's their occupation, what's their family dynamics, those kind of things. Knowing those kind of things can somewhat become a niche, but you need to know those things. So what I mean by this is these sellers that I looked at where they didn't have like this very, very defined niche, they had a very unique style of art. It wasn't just a bunch of different kinds of art just lumped into a store, which I see often in unsuccessful sellers. They had a very unique and attractive style of art, and they had a very specific customer that they were selling to. They knew who their customer was. Some of these brands knew that their customer was very conscious of eco-friendly and the environment and those kind of things, right? Some of these brands knew that their customer was younger and more trendy and more modern, okay? Some of these customers knew that their customers were located in specific areas, so they're promoting things around certain cities or certain, countries or states in the U.S., different things like that. So they were still, even though they didn't have a very defined niche, they were still very specific on the style and the customer that they were serving. And so, yeah, when I mean style, a few examples here. one of the brands sells line art. Everything is line art, right? So if you like line art, like that kind of is the niche, was line art. Star maps, right? What did the stars look like on a specific night that something happened? Another brand had this cartoonish style that all of their products had the same cartoon style, just in different settings, different characters. But it brought a uniqueness and somewhat a niche to a nicheless brand. Hopefully that makes sense. But this is one way you can go about it. If you don't have a specific niche, very specific niche, but you have a specific style and you know the customer it's for, you can get very specific on those things. I think you can have success there. Okay, I believe this is number 5 coming up. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. This one's interesting. All these are interesting. I found these so interesting in my notes. Number 5. There was a lot of talk about devaluing your brand with too many sales or too deep of discounts. Okay. There was presentations on this. Minna, who is the CEO, not CEO, CMO. Her name is Minna. She's the CMO of Gelato. She's awesome. I got to spend a lot of time with her on this trip. She's awesome. She did a whole presentation on these kind of things and talking about deep discounts and different things and how to discount your brand and still make sales for the Black Friday and the fourth quarter. But I just wanted to share a couple of these insights because this is something that is that I think about a lot. Number one, if you're going to deeply discount your products, only do it once or twice per year. Okay, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, maybe there's a 4th of July sale or spring sale that you want to do, or Prime Day or something like that. If you're going to deeply discount your products, limit it, very limited. You don't want to be going 50% off every month, right? You don't want to devalue your brand with too many sales or too deep of discounts. Another thing I believe Minna shared in her presentation that I thought was interesting was somewhere around 40% is like the highest that you would want to go. Anything over 40% off really cheapens your brand. And there's data to back this up that like the perception is if you are discounting your products above 35 to 40%, that is psychologically going to make your brand look cheap to your customers. Next, if you're always running a sale, there's no incentive to buy now. Okay. If you're always running a sale, there's no incentive to buy now because your customer's going to say, well, it'll just be on sale in a couple of weeks. Like I'll just buy it when I'm ready. Right. You always want an incentive to buy now. And really what a sale is for you as a seller, it's you saying buy now because it's discounted. I'm discounting it so that you'll buy right now so we can bump sales. Right. So the last insight here is the advice that I would give and kind of that was echoed at this Accelerate Summit was look to make higher end products that have higher perceived value with higher prices and offer lower discounts, right? 10, 15, 20% less frequently is going to be more effective. It's going to give your brand that premium perception, right? And it's going to make people respond to the 20% off sale that's only happens a little bit less infrequently, right? As opposed to when you have sales all the time, nobody cares because everything's always on sale, right? So don't devalue your brand with too many sales or too deep of discounts, okay? The next tip, this is number 6 or next insight. I want to share I want to share with you some of the Black Friday and Cyber Monday fourth quarter marketing tips that were shared at the summit. Okay. There was a theme throughout the summit of the fourth quarter because the fourth quarter is about to hit. And so all these sellers are preparing for the fourth quarter. And so I wanted to share some of those insights. And I'm thinking of one more that I want to add here, just so I don't forget it. So I'm going to write it down real quick. Okay. So first thing, and I'll kind of try to rapid fire these. First thing, build the list before Black Friday. There was a person there that was from a advertising agency in New York City, a really successful advertising agency that spoke on the second day and shared a bunch of data and insights from these campaigns they run for, huge brands. And one of the things she was talking about was leading up to your Black Friday sale, put a bigger focus on building your email list. This will be a better and more profitable use of your money, of your marketing dollars, right? that's not to say you shouldn't be selling leading up to Black Friday, but you should have a bigger focus on building your email list. One of the ways that was shared, I believe this was by Minna from Gelato, as a strategy that I just took note because I really liked it, was to change your email collection to get access to our Black Friday sale early in exchange for the email. So, drop your email below to get access to our sale early. And by the potential customer putting in their email, you can then send them emails like a few days in advance and give the Black Friday sale discount early. And this is a great way to increase sales. I really like that strategy of, instead of offering a 10% or 15% off, if this is going to be your biggest sale of the year for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, get access to our biggest sale of the year early, or get early access to our biggest sale of the year. Put in your email here. We'll add you to the early access list, right? I think that's a great strategy. Okay, so build the list before Black Friday. Use a get early access to the sale in exchange for the email. Another thing that they shared that I thought was very fascinating was, through their data and through their research, this advertising agency, they have found that site-wide sales work the best on ads. Okay, so if you're running Facebook, Instagram ads, any kind of ads, site-wide sales work the best. They mentioned like 25% off site-wide, no restrictions, just boom, 25% off site-wide, 20% off site-wide, whatever it is. That verbiage, that term, that is like the most effective. They basically, what they're saying is, when these sales get too complicated, or it's not really clear on the ad what your Black Friday or Cyber Monday sale is, that's when the results start to drop. And what they found is, they've tried all these different things. If you do, just 25% off site wide, or whatever your discount is, it could be 15, 20, 30, whatever. 25% off site wide, that's the most effective on advertising. Get the lowest cost conversions. Keep your sales as simple as possible, easy to understand. Don't try to do anything too complex, especially in the fourth quarter. Last thing I hear is kind of a marketing tip. It's great for the fourth quarter, but also just in general, there was a lot of talk and tips around partner with influencers to create UGC content, user generated content. One of the tips was, hey, hire, influencers, hire personalities on the internet to create like content, UGC content for your brand that you can then use on ads, right? You could send somebody your product, you could pay to have them create a little video and just say, oh my gosh, this shirt is so soft, I love it, or I love the message, or those kind of things, but unboxing it or putting it on, or just talking about how great your product is and using those for ads. This ad agency that spoke has found so much success with that. It's one of their primary strategies. So they had the tip of partner with influencers to create user-generated content. Last tip I want to share here around Black Friday, Cyber Monday, fourth quarter: don't neglect your customer service. Okay, many of you listening, you're in the earlier stages of your brand. Some of you may have a more established brand. Customer service is a huge deal in the fourth quarter because it ramps up. If you are anticipating your sales are going to ramp up, you need to have a plan for how you're going to handle customer service. If you have a little bit larger brand, you may want to think about how you can temporarily hire one or two more people to handle some of those customer service inquiries. But I wanted to add a quick note in here for Black Friday, fourth quarter, just to don't neglect customer service. Be prepared for an influx of customer service inquiries in the fourth quarter. Okay. All right. My last insight or tip for you. This one, just emotionally, I guess, or deep inside of me, really resonates with me, and I want to share it with you. And this is really just from me. Okay. This is like an insight from me and a couple people I talked to. It really resonates with me, though. I think it's so important, and I want you to hear it as we wrap up this episode. Don't neglect it. But the insight is, it is so great to be around people in your industry. Okay. It is so impactful and so helpful to just get in the room with people that are doing the same thing you are doing. So in the last lunch that I had at the summit there, I had a great conversation with one of the sellers who has a really awesome brand. And he was just talking to the table about just how good it was to spend a couple days with people who speak your language and talk like you talk and know about the things that you know about, right? In his world, he works alone a lot of the time. And there's just no one in his sphere and in his city that he can just talk to about e-commerce, about print on demand, right? That's why it's so cool that we have this podcast, because you can see through listening to this podcast that there are other people out there like you, right? And oftentimes I find what this gentleman finds is that I live here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I don't know a single person in Tulsa that does print on demand. I know that there are people that do print on demand in Tulsa. I don't personally know them. I don't personally get to interact with them. I don't have lunch with them, right? I wish I did. Maybe I should. Maybe I should start that, right? Because I know there are people out there, but like I don't know those people, right? And most of you listening, wherever you live, you probably don't know anybody that does what you do. You may know one or two people at most. I'd love to hear from you if you do, but you don't get to spend time with them on a daily basis. So if you can go to something like this and get in the room and spend a whole 2 days with a group of people that know exactly what you're talking about when you use all these weird terms and nerd out about this stuff, it is so refreshing. It is so good for your soul. It's so impactful because it's kind of like the best the best analogy I can give you. And this may resonate with some of you and may not with others of you, and that's perfectly fine. But it's like going to church camp when you're a kid, right? That's if you haven't experienced going to a conference or one of these masterminds or something like that. It's like going to church camp when you're a kid. Like you get sent off away from your comfort zone to this camp where you got to meet new people. You get fired up because the messages and all the things you're learning at the church camp, and you come back to your home with like this fire. You're like, I'm gonna get everybody saved because I'm so pumped up, right? And it's like there's a week or two there where it's just like you're on fire, man. Like you're like it's so motivated, feeling so good, right? Feeling so excited about the future. That's what happens at these kind of conferences, right? Obviously, it's different. It's about business, but you go to these kind of meetings, then you leave, and you're like, man, I'm ready to go crush my business. I got all these strategies, I got all these ideas. You're just flooded with ideas, and you go and you want to implement them. You want to bring them back to your business. So some of you might be listening to that, and you might be like, man, that sounds great. I want that, but how do I even do that? I can't go to these masterminds, right? I didn't get invited to the Gelato Summit. I totally get that. Number one, you can, and I understand not everybody's financially able to do this or even just with time, but you can go to conferences, right? You can seek out, go do your research and find conferences that might be in your area that you can attend with other people in the e-commerce or even just the online business space. I've gone to a conference, at least one, usually multiple, but at least one conference every year for the last 5 or 6 years. And I feel like they're always valuable for me. I go in with the mindset of like, I'm going to get something out of this. So I am motivated to get something out of it, regardless of if the conference stinks. And I've been to some pretty bad conferences, but number one, you can seek out these conferences and you can go to these conferences. A lot of times they are concentrated in what I found: Dallas, Las Vegas, Orlando, Miami. So a couple places in there are some in New Jersey that I've seen. There are some, and there's a lot in California as well. A lot of times they'll be in LA. So like if you're located near those places, that's kind of like the whole country, right? You got New Jersey, Las Vegas, California area, San Diego, and LA have been the most that I've attended. Dallas, Austin as well. Then you got Orlando, Miami. If you're located like anywhere near those areas where you could maybe get there a little bit easier, like seek out the conferences that might be in those areas, because I guarantee you there are conferences every year in all those areas that you could probably even just drive to if you just seek out those kind of those areas. If you go to a conference, go in with the mindset like, I'm going to meet everybody and I'm going to get something out of this. I'm going to take notes. I'm going to meet people. I'm going to be motivated, right? Go in with that mindset. Number two, join a coaching program or some kind of course at minimum. If you can't go to conferences, if you can't travel, around from time to time to get in the room, Get in the digital room, okay? You know, if you can join a mastermind, join a mastermind. Get around other e-commerce sellers so that you can get on calls, that you can get in communities with like-minded people, because you're going to learn so much and it's going to be so impactful. And I've shared so many times, but I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last 5 years on getting into masterminds, coursing, and coaching for myself to just get most of the time, the biggest impact is just getting around other people and learning what they're doing and sharing and making friends and making connections. It's so good. Okay, so join a coaching program or a course at minimum. Make it a point to find people in your community or city that are in e-commerce. So they're in some cities like Austin or San Francisco, different cities like that. If you're in a larger city, I'm sure that they're in many other cities as well. Those are just ones that I always hear about. Make it like, do some research, see if there are groups, meetup groups, get together, groups that get together in your city that you can maybe go and join and take that step and go see what one is about, right? Maybe they meet at a coffee shop or a restaurant once a month. Go check it out. Go see if you can meet some people and make some connections. It will be very impactful. There is so much power in getting together and just talking about print on demand, e-commerce, the things that you love. So with that, I'm going to cap off this episode. Thank you for listening to my long talk on what I learned at the Gelato Accelerate Summit. I hope you found this very insightful. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and listening. Don't forget to check the show notes down below or the description on YouTube to go join my Launch Your Brand Challenge, my next 5-day challenge, starting on Monday, this coming Monday. I believe it is September 23rd. Hope to see you there, and I hope to see you in the next episode of the Print on Demand Playbook podcast. Have a great day. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Print on Demand Playbook podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave us an honest review on whatever platform you're listening from, and please consider hitting that subscribe button. It helps us grow the podcast, and we would be so appreciative. Have a great day.